Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, this Thursday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher's my name. Glad to have you on board. Let's grab a quick call from Ruth in Tampa, Florida to start this segment. Ruth, welcome to Focal Point. Number, by the way, is 888-589-8840 if you'd like to join the conversation, 888-589-8840. Ruth, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
And, of course, Jeb was governor here in Florida, and he was good. He wasn't great. I don't think he would have a chance to win. I think he just wasn't that great. And also, we've already had two Bushes, and I think a lot of people say, we don't want a third one. I think he's out.
A little bit of Bush fatigue out there.
Right.
Well, you know, and Jeb strikes me.
We're not, a king passing down the throne or something.
Yeah.
But
well, Jeb, and I want to ask this question. Jeb seems to me, I mean, I've never met him or anything, but he just seems to me like a really nice guy. Like he's got a very pleasant persona, projects himself well. He's just kind of a likable guy. But I just wonder about the depth of his conservative convictions. It seems like he's a guy, he wrote this book, as I remember, that took a very strong position on immigration, basically saying that illegal immigrants should never be given citizenship in the United States, never should be granted a franchise, never allowed to vote. And it comes out in book form. If you're going to write a book, that's something you expect to sort of be around for a while, and you'd better be pretty thoughtful about what goes into the book. And then he changed his mind on that almost as soon as the book came out. So that was a weird thing to me, that he was changing gears on a dime on a pretty controversial issue, apparently because it seemed like it wasn't a very popular position.
That's true. And as you said, he is a very likable guy, and I think he is a good man. But, I think at one time he was tutoring, and even after he was governor, he tutored, I believe it was an African-American child. But he's been very interested in education. That was one of his big things, in Florida.
Yeah.
And a lot of the educators, now are against him, and more so the parents. But I think he's standing up for this Common Core, but they're attacking a lot of his beliefs, in education. I think, he is basically a good man, but I just don't think he has what it takes to be president. And with you, I think Ted Cruz is the man. I think he's got guts. I think he's got a good stiff backbone. I think he will stand up for what is right. And I would much rather see the Republican run somebody like that, that's going to stand up for our good conservative beliefs. And even if he loses, at least people will know what we stand for, than to run somebody that's wishy-washy, moderate.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people agree with you. Look, if we're going to lose, let's at least lose with a guy that actually believes what we believe, actually believes what the Republican Party stands for. If you're going to lose, at least go down. At least go down with a guy that believes your own party's platform. We've tried it the other way. We've tried running two guys that really didn't believe in the Republican Party platform, didn't really believe in the principles that the Republican Party puts in its platform. And we look what happened. We lost two of those. So at least if we're gonna lose a third time, at least let's try something different. Let's try to get a genuine conservative at the head of the ticket. All right, Ruth, appreciate the call. Thank you for that. Now, here is Chris Matthews, clip number 3, going back to yesterday and the event on the mall. And listen to what Chris Matthews says, this swipe that he takes at conservatives here. Let's listen.
At least back in 1939, when Marian Anderson had to sing here, "My Country 'Tis of Thee," rather than at the Constitution Hall, because they said the reason was she was black. At least they were honest back then. Today in American politics, you have people like Donald Trump, who hangs around with Mitt Romney, talking about the president being an illegal immigrant, basically being a con artist on a street corner. You've got people talking about nullification of the law of the land. You got people talking impeachment like Coburn. You got Ted Cruz out there. They never say their problem with Obama is that he's black. But look at the pattern. The pattern is rejection of his legitimacy at the first point, saying he's not really here legally. It's rejection of the law he had passed, the landmark bill passed in 2010. It's an attempt to impeach him on no grounds. At least the Daughters of the American Revolution knew what they're saying, and they said it out loud. He's black. She's black. She can't sing here. These guys today use all the techniques of nullification and talking about illegitimacy and accusing the president of being a crook, basically, for even being president because he's here illegally. And then they talk about impeaching him on grounds they can't even come up with. At least in the old days, they were honest about it. Today, they're not. And that's how rough it's going to be today, I think.
So that's Chris Matthews. You know, and this is just slanderous, because what he's accusing all conservatives, if anybody has an objection to anything that President Obama says or does, it has got to be rooted in race. It's just racism. Well, the reality is the reason, you know, and he says, look, they, talking about conservatives, they never say their problem with Obama is that he is black. Well, the reason that we never say that our problem with Obama is that he's black is because that is not the problem. The fact that he is black is not the problem. It's not a problem to us. It's not our problem. It's not his race that we object to. It is his policies. It's not the color of his skin. It's the content of his policies that we object to. And so you'll notice that what these liberals do, they really do not want to engage us in the realm of ideas. They don't want to engage us on why we object to the policies of President Obama. So what Chris Matthews and other liberals will do will simply label us as racists, because they believe that that then terminates the debate. It terminates the discussion. It terminates the conversation. Once we have tagged you as a racist, then we don't have to listen to anything that you have to say. We don't have to reason with you. We don't have to refute your argument. We don't have to take issue with your point of view. We can just dismiss it. We can isolate you. We can marginalize you by tagging you as a racist. So it's completely unfounded. It's completely wrong. It's just morally obscene, actually, to toss around an accusation like that. I mean, that's a very severe accusation, to accuse somebody of being a racist. Very severe. It's inexcusable to do that unless it's true, because it's such a damning, and I'm using that in the basic sense of the word, it's such a condemning thing to say about somebody that you shouldn't throw that around loosely. But liberals use it because it is such a damaging accusation to make. They use that because they believe if they can throw the race card down on you, then they do not have to listen to anything you say, that they've invalidated any objection you have to any policy that is under discussion. You talked about nullification, by the way. Got a story today out of Missouri that they're about ready to override the veto of Governor Nixon there and make it illegal in the state of Missouri for any federal gun law to be enforced. It will be illegal for any federal gun control law to be enforced in the state of Missouri. It will be a crime to do that. It'll be a crime to assist a federal officer in enforcing a federal gun control law in the state of Missouri. And they're pretty close. It looks like they're pretty close to having enough votes to override Governor Nixon's veto. And this whole nullification business, look, this just comes out of the mindset, the reality that the states created the federal government, not the other way around. The states are the master, or designed to be the master by the founders, and the federal government is the servant. So this is the master, the states, telling the servant, the federal government, what it can and cannot do. And one of the things that the servant, the federal government, cannot do is abridge the Second Amendment, because we, the people, the states, when they created the federal government, said, look, one of the rights that belongs to the people, not even to the states, this is the right of the people to keep and bear arms. You can't infringe on that. We have bound you from doing that. We have prohibited you, federal government. You are our creation. We brought you into being, and we told you, as the master of the house, we told you this is something that you cannot touch. You cannot infringe on the right of the people to keep and bear arms. So perfectly appropriate thing to do. And by the way, got word today that the Mississippi Supreme Court upheld the open carry law, a newly passed open carry law in the state of Mississippi. Supreme Court upholding that, said that is now legal. One quick soundbite before we go back to the phones. Christian Stone King, clip number 4. This is interesting because President Obama is the one that's talking about launching missiles into Syria, attacking a foreign country with no declaration of war from the. He's a winner of a Nobel Peace Prize. And here is Kristen Stone King. She's the executive director of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, and the one that founded this outfit was the guy that organized the very first March on Washington back in 1963. And you talk about a shot across the bow. Listen to the shot that she takes at Barack Obama at the March on the Mall yesterday before he spoke.
Rustin rejected violence, conflict, and strife, and instead chose peace. He and Reverend James Lawson, another 4 staffer, are credited with convincing Reverend Dr. King early on that nonviolence had to be the path to freedom. And so on this day, how can we pay tribute to their legacy of nonviolence and peace, to Dr. King's refusal to see another as enemy, as we are poised to attack Syria? Rustin and King showed us over and over that racism, militarism, and economic exploitation are inextricably linked. And so on behalf of all people of conscience, I call on our leaders to do all in our power to resist the siren song of militarism and embrace the way of Rustin, the way of King, the way of nonviolence
and the way of peace. So, whoa, getting all up in Obama's kitchen. Supposed to be a man of peace. Martin Luther King, nonviolent. This guy's getting ready to lob missiles into the country, the land of Syria. Let's go to the phones very quickly. Let's go to Mary in Meridian, Mississippi. Mary, welcome. What's on your mind?
Okay, I want to talk to you just a minute about the elections.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, last time we had the presidential election, we had 3 conservative, good conservative people on the ballot. Rick Perry and Michelle Bachmann, and then the other one, I can't even think what his name is, but I voted for him. But anyway, and then we had Romney on there.
Mm-hmm.
Romney is the only one that had the money to stay on the ballot until we had the primary, until the states started having their primary elections closer together. We're not going to have a good person we can elect in there.
Yeah. So I appreciate the call, Mary. Thank you for that. And what Mary's talking about is, I mean, there's just a kind of a logistical matter that money is huge. When you got a long, stretched-out campaign season, then the guy that's got the most money is going to be able to go the distance. Santorum had to drop out because he lacked money. Bachmann had to drop out because she lacked money. You know, Rick Perry kind of flamed out. He probably would have had enough money, but he flamed out. Mitt Romney had the money, went the distance. Focal point in the AFR Talk.